everyone. Good morning. Thanks for being here. So yes, I'm Hugo Swart, and I head our XR business at Qualcomm. Very happy to be here and talking about a few of the technologies that are coming together and helping accelerate an XR world. The technologies I'm referring to are 5G, AI, and XR. 5G with the fiber-like speeds and extremely low latency, AI enabling many of the tasks that we need for immersive compute, and of course, spatial or immersive XR devices. These three together are going to change the world, are going to change how consumers experience entertainment, how they shop, how they game, travel. They're going to change how enterprises are going to do business, field assistance, training, logistics, manufacturing across many different industrial sectors. So let's talk about these three in the next few slides. So first, I want to go a little deeper in AI. Why AI on device is so important for this new XR world. There are many different tasks that will help or that will need the help from AI for the experience, for the performance that we expect on these devices. First, understanding the environment, right? So you need AI to understand who's around you, what is around you, 3D reconstruction of the environment. You need AI to understand about what your body is doing, right? My movement, my head movement, my hand tracking, my eye tracking. You need AI to understand what I'm saying, right, for natural language understanding or real-time translation. You need AI for many of the multimedia tasks for XR, including things like illumination, occlusion, and shaders. And also, on the last point here, we also see AI playing a critical role in creating AI agents, be it in a game where you have a computer-generated character that reacts to your actions based on AI functions. Or you can think about the next generation Alexa, right? You get home, and instead of just interacting with Alexa or your favorite virtual agent through voice, you can also see them as a hologram. So AI is going to be critical. And in this slide, I'm showing an example, near-term, actually, we believe, example, on how AI and XR are going to come together. So training is an example everyone is familiar with the XR glasses or AR glasses. Here, we're showing an example on how AI will take it to the next level. You can think about a hologram, an AI agent, an AI trainer next to you that understand exactly what you're doing, that understand what needs to be done, correct you, guide you at the right place at the right time. So good example on how AI and XR are going to come together. Here in an enterprise environment, you can think about many others with AI agents in the consumer space. Now, after AI, let's talk a little bit more about 5G. So first, I want to recognize and make sure everyone in the audience understands that 5G is here. 2019 is the year of 5G. We already have deployments in US. We already have deployments in Europe, China, Japan, Korea. The deployments right now are in selected areas, but we expect that these deployments will rapidly expand in 2019. So that's why we want to emphasize that 5G is here. 5G is in 2019. Question I always get, how fast is 5G going to be deployed? Right? Okay, you have small deployments. How fast are they going to go to nationwide coverage? Well, of course, it depends on region by region. But what I can say is that if I compare 4G in the first year of deployments and compare with 5G first years of deployment, we see a much faster, a much wider range of players with commercial networks and products. In 4G, we had 4 operators launching, 3 OEMs launching in the first year of LTE. With 5G, we already have more than 20 operators, more than 20 devices announced with 5G. Now, okay, so I talked about when 5G is going to happen, and 5G is now. Now let's talk about why 5G is so important for XR. It enhances the mobile broadband experience. And what do I mean by that? Throughput, 10 times higher than 4G. Latency, 10 times lower than 4G. Capacity, up to 100 times more traffic enabled over 5G. How come? Well, one is more spectral efficiency. So the spectrum is more efficiently utilized, so you can put more bits on the same bands. But also you have more bands. You have wider availability of bands for 5G. You have millimeter wave, right, the high bands. You have sub-6 gigahertz, like the current deployments today in 4G, 3G. And in addition to the wider availability of spectrum, we also see new types of deployments for 5G. Still the macro deployments, but also we see micro deployments. We also see private deployments of 5G networks. So that's why, we see 5G as such a critical component in this new XR world. Now I want to use an analogy on the killer, or one of the killer use cases we predict with 5G. And I'm going to use communication as the killer use case. Communication was the killer use case for 1G, right? Analog voice. It was the killer use case for 2G, digital voice communication, and you also had, started to see messaging come. 3G, we saw video on top of voice, video call. The first video call experiences started to come in 3G. 4G, much better video telephony, Skype, and so forth, much higher resolution, better displays. So now I have voice and video communication. Now, what do we expect for 5G? So 5G is going to take the next level of interactivity, of human communication through the wireless channel. And we're calling it the holographic telepresence. In fact, this use case, holographic telepresence, puts it all together. Puts 5G, puts AI, and spatial immersive compute. In this picture I'm showing here, you see a couple of people present in a room going over a 3D design, holographic 3D design through their glasses. You see a couple of people that are participating in this meeting, but in a different room. And we envision this use case to be enabled with 5G, AI, and XR without any cameras. It's just a headset that you wear that is capturing all your movements and sending to the others sharing the same session. Have a little video to give you a little bit more about this use case. Can you play the video, please?
Oh, hey.
Bring in Model 5A. Hi, everyone.
Oh, hey. What do you think?
I think it looks great. Let's call in Darren.
Oh, hey guys, what's up?
Darren, we were wondering, could we change the color of the upholstery?
Oh yeah, definitely. Let's see, how about blue?
Works for me. What do you guys think?
Looks good. Let's do it.
great example of 5G AR and XR coming together. This was a business example, but of course, consumers will use this as well. Talking to families elsewhere, and just friends coming together in the same room, having a cup of coffee or maybe a beer, and feel present, feel like being with the other person. That is what 5G and AI and XR are going to provide to the world. I talked a little bit about the technology. Now let me take you through the journey we expect to see from a processing, from a device perspective. Let me start with VR. VR, we all saw, maybe about 4 years ago, or depending on how you want to count, existing processing units, be it your gaming PC, your phone through a slot in, enabling virtual reality. It was a first step, but it wasn't enough to take it to mass market. Many challenges, right? Gaming PCs are expensive. The slot in was not the best user experience. Now standalone came in. Standalone VR devices that combine the best of the worlds. The mobile performance, power, and size, together with the mobility that mobile brings. So standalone, we expect to be here for the long run. Standalone VR devices will continue to exist. Now, a new trend that we see happening in parallel to the standalone VR devices are what we are calling distributed processing. Distributing the processing not only on your head, but between your head and devices you carry in your body. Smartphone as an example. Or between your head and a more powerful device that I have at home, my gaming PC. Or between the head and the edge of the network through 5G. So we expect that this distributed processing start to take place this year, together actually with some of the 5G and AI innovation, while in parallel, standalone still providing a great user experience and the best form factor for many use cases. AR, very similar. We started to see AR, in smartphones a few years ago. Now we see standalone AR headsets, and then the trend towards, lighter AR glasses with companion processing units on your body, in proximity, in the cloud. And then, as we start seeing this migration or the evolution of XR, 5G, and AI, what we expect is that we are going to get to the Holy Grail. We're going to get to a headset that can do both VR and AR, that has 5G, that has local processing, but relies heavily on the edge of the cloud to do the more intensive workloads. So this is, an overall high-level vision towards, the Holy Grail journey. And let me get a little bit more detail on what we see the industry doing in this distributed processing. One way to do distributed processing is cabled, right? I have a USB Type-C, and I have, a light AR glass. Many of you saw this morning Enreal's announcement, where they have a very light AR glass connected to a 5G smartphone. So cabled is the lower hanging fruit, right, to enable this distributed processing. Right? The amount of processing that you put on the head versus your body or a companion device is flexible. Some OEMs will put more processing on the head and less on the companion. And this is an OEM or hardware manufacturer decision. More interesting will be, when can we do wireless? And actually, we already at GDC, we announced what we call Boundless XR for PC. The idea here is that I have compute on my VR, or AR headset, right? Especially the perceptual computing, like tracking and some of the computer vision algorithms running the head. Send over wireless. In particular, we're talking about 60 gigahertz wireless for the bandwidth and latency. And then have a gaming PC do the heavy lifting on, let's say, a 300 watts graphics machine. Compress it, send it back to the headset. Headset does the final display processing, and then you have a great user experience. What we announced as well at GDC was that the same, actually, VR HMD could work paired with a gaming PC, if I have 60 gigahertz, if the PC is next to me. But it can also work standalone. If I'm away from the PC, it still works as a standalone all-in-one headset. And then the next one is 5G distributed processing. Many, in the industry, in particular in the 5G, in the wireless industry, are talking about mobile edge compute. And what is mobile edge compute? Is for operators, carriers, to deploy GPU farms, to have an edge cloud network where the 5G device can get some of the workload, some of the tasks for the given application done in the edge of the cloud and then sent back, similar to the boundless XR for PC. Architecturally, very, very similar. So these things I want to call out, we don't see them happening in series. This is not a serial, we are going to do cable first, and then wireless proximity first, and then 5G. They're going to happen in parallel, right? So in this context, one of the announcements that we made here at the show yesterday was our first reference design for what we're calling smart viewers. This is in a cabled architecture where I have a processor on the headset, an XR1 chip, for those of you familiar with our roadmap, and a Snapdragon 855 on the smartphone. With this architecture, I can separate and do perception algorithms, display processing in the headset, and I do the graphics rendering, multimedia processing in the headset. It is one of the options to get to this distributed processing and enabling immersive experiences with 5G, with AI today. Benefits, you get improved performance, improved power savings, improved thermals. But again, we don't see this as the only way to get distributed processing. It's one of the ways that we are enabling the ecosystem, our hardware partners. One more last thing on the boundless XR for PC. We have a demo in our booth. Highly recommend you to come see it and have further discussions on these architectures. So then we get to what is Qualcomm doing? Right? I talk about why AI is important, why 5G is important, how they are coming together in an XR world. So we at Qualcomm, we are doing three main things, or three main offerings to the ecosystem. Of course, our bread and butter, our chips, right? Snapdragon 845, Snapdragon 855 for phones, XR1. So we have our silicon, where we do custom modifications, custom chips like XR1 for these headsets. Then we have software. Many of these perceptual algorithms are done internally at Qualcomm that we enable many in the ecosystem. And third, the reference designs. Right? The reference designs, you can see them as a precursor of what we are going to see the industry pick up. Just as an example, our reference design for standalone VR with the Snapdragon 820 was done 3 years ago. And then, 1 year after, a little bit after, you start seeing products come to market. So these are the three offerings from Qualcomm: the chip, the software, the reference design. And then we work with the hardware ecosystem, ODMs, OEMs, And beyond that, actually, even component suppliers, we work closely with the camera module guys, with the displays, to make sure that we have an integrated offer with the rest of the hardware ecosystem. Beyond the hardware ecosystem, we also work with the software ecosystem. The platform guys, technology providers, an example here, Tobii, we work with them for eye tracking. You know, there's a list of partners here that we work closely to make a more of an end-to-end offer to our customers. And solution providers, you know, in the enterprise space, as an example. And then more recently, working with the operators. Operators deploying 5G, they want to see this type of devices. They want to see this type of experiences become available, so we're working very closely to them. And then enabling these three players, or these three groups of players, have their offers to the end consumers, be it consumers, be it on the enterprise market. So now I'm going to leave you with a question. We all saw the evolution of compute systems, entertainment, telecom, or communication. Smartphones changed all of them. You use smartphones for compute, productivity. You use smartphones for entertainment. You use smartphone for communication. And we expect the same thing with XR devices. Now, the big question is, with smartphones, we still continue to use laptops. We still continue to use TVs. We still continue to use, many times landline phones. With the advent of XR, will those devices continue to exist? A question that I'm happy to take it offline with you all. Thank you very much. So, how we health concerns, I think we have no concerns about safety. Actually, we have done many studies. I think the question may be related to millimeter wave, right? The higher frequencies. The higher frequencies actually are very directional. So it's a matter of designing the device such that you don't have any SAR concerns. We're not concerned on those. When do you expect to see all-in-one XR headset? Well, we already see many all-in-one XR headsets, right on the VR side, the Oculus Quest, the Vive Focus Plus, on the AR side, Vuzix and Real, and so forth. I think maybe the question here is with 5G. And with 5G, we expect this year to start seeing the model I mentioned with viewers, where you have a 5G smartphone connected to a viewer. And I expect that around 2020, we're going to see all-in-one 5G XR devices. But of course, this is something we're working with our partners to enable. What specific parts of AR and AR pipelines do you anticipate running on mobile edge cloud servers? I think we're going to see a transition. In the beginning, I expect more of the graphics workloads to be running on the edge of the cloud. And then in the future, maybe even the graphics can be split between what you do in the headset, what you do in the cloud. For sure, a lot of the AI and perceptual compute we expect to still be done on device. We expect display processing still to be done on device. I think it's going to be a real split of processing between edge of the cloud and the device. And we're working with the many players in the industry to actually make those decisions, to actually decide and agree upon standards to have this split working cohesively between the network and the devices. Which other OEMs other than Unreal will launch viewers this year? Unreal was the first one, the one we highlighted at MWC. Epson recently announced an AR viewer as well, a 3DOF viewer, as opposed to the Unreal that has cameras for positional tracking. On the VR side, We worked with a few players like Acer, Pico. There are smaller companies coming with smaller VR glasses. So I don't think we will see any lack of viewers to enable this market. So with that, I want to conclude the presentation. Thank you very much. Please come see our demos at the booth, and happy to continue partnering with you all in the industry to create this new XR world. Thank you.